All right, good morning. We are live on the World Wide Web and YouTube and all those other amazing things. So, yeah, this video is 10 thoughts or things to consider for living independently with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy, and that's going to be my focus is Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. But a lot of this will apply to anybody with a disability, quite honestly. It's all about making that transition from, living at home with mom and dad to possibly living on your own or independently in some way where you are responsible for your care, for your life. And with that comes great rewards, but it's also a lot of work. There's also a lot to consider, right? So let's talk about that. I got one question before the live stream began, and I will answer that once I say what I got to say. But feel free to make a comment in the chat, not in the video, not below the video, but to the right of the video. I'll get notified live of that. Well, a few seconds delayed, right? But I won't be able to watch comments below the video, but comments in the chat. So if you do have a question, please do ask it. I'd love to get some dialogue and communication going. So feel free to ask questions. But all right. So I'm just gonna kind of get into it, so to speak. There's lots to consider, and the first thing I would say is this takes a while. This takes a while. Moving out on your own literally can take years to plan. So if you're thinking you want to move out on your 18th birthday, good for you. That's amazing. I admire you. Get started as a teenager. In fact, I started the process when I was 16 years old, and only through a stroke of fortunate circumstances for myself and a negative circumstance for my brother, I can touch on that a little bit in a bit, was our ability to move out independently on our own accelerated. Actually, I'll quickly just talk about that. So at about the age of 16 and a half, I don't like using and a half, 8-year-olds do that, but it's relevant for this. At about 16 and a half, so my birthday's in January. The summer of age 16, I started talking to a social worker. I didn't even talk to my parents about it. That's up to you whether you do that or not. I would suggest if you have parents that would be supportive in you doing this, you talk to them and bring them in. Or if you have parents that would not be supportive, maybe you get the ball rolling without their knowledge. You're a free and autonomous human being. Even as a 16-year-old, you're allowed to do things like that, contact a social worker or whatever, and do those things without your parents' knowledge. It wasn't so much that my parents wouldn't have helped me. my parents actually did help me quite a bit once they knew I was doing this, but it's just something I felt like I had to do alone. I had to do by myself. And my relationship with my parents was going through some, ups and downs, from the age 13 to 16, 17. Um, you know, um, it's true of most teenagers. Guys, if you don't feel like your parents are at odds with you, that's pretty normal. But just try and take a step back and realize most of the time, hopefully, your parents love you and want what's best for you. And if you tell them, what you need, what you want, they're going to be pretty supportive. So I was 16 and a half, and I was looking to move out. And there were these, what they call supportive housing units. Essentially an apartment building, a regular apartment building. Let's see, there's 100 units in it, but 10 of the units would be rented out by an organization, or not rented out, but 10 of them would be spoken for by an organization. And one of them would be rented out by the organization where support workers could be on hand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that was my initial plan. I was on waiting list for two different organizations, and the more likely one that I was going to get into sooner was probably not the best one in retrospect, but the one with a longer wait list was probably the better option for me. And I didn't know that then, but it all worked out in the end. So what ended up happening was my brother ended up getting sick and getting a ventilator. And for whatever reason, coming home was not really an option. So he was living in a hospital. So organization A, the one with a shorter waiting list but not as good, wouldn't support somebody with a tracheotomy and a ventilator. But organization B would. And because my brother and I were willing to move into a apartment together, meaning they could service two people with disabilities with only using one apartment, was good. It was great. They could service more people quickly. And this was a new supportive housing project that was just opening up in the exact same city in which I lived, in which I had grown up for the last 8 or 9 years. So it was great. So I wasn't going to even have to move cities because that was a consideration as well. I still wanted my parents and family close by for some support. So about a year later, my brother and I moved out on our own into our own apartment with 24-hour supportive care. And, I'm not going to go on forever and ever because I could tell you the whole story. But to where I am now, 23 years later, I live in another city and I don't have 24-hour care, but I manage all my own care. I hire and train all my own staff, and it gives me a lot more freedom. So these are all things that you're going to have to consider. So I guess let's just go into that. So, when you move out on your own, unless you're totally physically independent, which is unlikely if you have Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy, you are going to have to get assistance with acts of daily living or personal care. So you need to, well, in advance, explore funding or benefits, however it works in your state or province. You need to look into that. Sometimes there can be wait lists of years to get on these types of programs, right? And you have to decide what is right for you. If there's a 24-hour option um, that provides you a bit more safety and stability, that might be attractive to you. But what are the drawbacks? Might be that you necessarily don't have full control over who does your support work. Whoever the agency sends is who you might get. Now, depending on the agency, there might be input from the clients, but you never know, right? And then the other option is what I'm now doing, or what I've been doing for the last number of years, is where you can get the funds to hire and train and schedule your own personal support workers. Uh, it's great. It gives you total control over who's coming into your home. Um, some of the drawbacks are, though, say, when somebody's sick or whatever, they can't make it into work. It's not the agency that has to call around the other staff and see who will come in. That's on you. And that might be difficult. That might be tricky. That might be, maybe you're expecting to have somebody help you suffer from 6 p.m. Till 8 p.m. And maybe you're calling around and maybe nobody can come till 8 p.m. So you're going to be a little bit hungry when somebody comes. Or they can come in, but they're like, Josh, I only got, an hour. I don't have the normal 2 hours that we would have. These are all things that happen when you're dealing with staff. Staff are humans. These people are going to build a relationship with you, and they're probably going to want to help, but they have their own lives. That's something to consider. Another thing to consider is like holidays and stuff like that, and whether you're going to have family as caregivers. That's not something I've ever chosen to do. I really don't see the benefit in having family being your caregiver as an adult. I just don't understand why somebody would do that. And the whole reason to move out and live independently is to no longer rely on your family for that kind of stuff. And, you can kind of just have the, relationship that, you always wanted to have with your dad, your sister, whoever, right? And then there's a couple other things to consider when it comes to daily living, and that's or personal care, and that's like the type of equipment you need, whether you need a lift to transfer you, or a shower chair, things like that. Funding once you become an adult is not necessarily as easy as when you were a child. There's a lot more programs and stuff like that for children, a lot more charities for children. So buying some of the equipment that you need can be very expensive. And, if it breaks down, what are you going to do? Like, say you're a big dude like me and your lift breaks down. What? You got to think, how am I going to deal with that? And then there's smaller things, vinyl gloves for when people are doing more intimate personal care. If you don't have some gloves on hand, if you run out, your support worker is not going to be too inclined to, quite frankly, wipe your bottom after you've had a number two, right? So what are you gonna do? You can't force the staff to wipe your dirty bum with no glove. They're not gonna want to do that, and then you're gonna live with a dirty bum. That's not good either. That's not healthy. So it's super important to always, always consider these types of things. Um, and then one last point when it comes to um, personal support care and things like that. Sorry about that. I'm just checking some notes. Is especially DMD, your abilities change over time. So the level of support you're going to need is likely going to increase over time. And sometimes, like I said, it takes years to get on a program. Sometimes it can take years to get an increase in funding for your needs. So when on a program like that, this is something you're going to want to consider years in advance. All right, second thing, and maybe this is more the first thing, but this is number 2 on my list is housing. Where are you going to live? You're not living at home anymore, so does that mean you're living in a house? Can you afford a house? Are you living in an apartment? Is it accessible? Is it accessible to your needs? So, again, modifications can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Rent is only going up and up. Buying new houses, especially in some big cities, it's just not possible for young people. So these are things you need to consider. Furthermore, there might be government or subsidized housing that you can access. But again, some of these things take years to get on. You got to get on the waiting list and wait years for affordable housing because let's be honest, most people with DMD, they're not making $250,000 a year. You can't live wherever you want. Your options are limited to accessible homes and affordable homes. And so, you've got to think about, like I said, the modifications that might have to be made. Maybe you got to get light switches lowered, or maybe you got to get assistive technology. You get your Amazon Echo type friend, and maybe she can help you out. You can be like, yo, Echo friend, turn on the lights and things like that. That's what I do. So there's lots and lots to consider, but there's lots to help you as well. And then, like, for many years, I lived in an apartment, and the apartment, fortunately, had accessible elevator, meaning that I could use a button that I mounted on my wheelchair to call the elevator, and the elevator would come and take me to where I want to go. The last 8 years or so of my life, I lived in a bungalow house, and it's on a floor level, but I have a door opener for that as well. So these are the types of things you want to consider. Are you okay with being on another floor other than the main floor? I mean, it's unlikely your apartment's going to have a fire, but these are the types of things that you might want to consider. All right, so housing was kind of a shorter option there, but or a shorter point, but which brings me to thought number 3. So you're moving out. You're a young adult. you're starting your life. Maybe you're continuing education. Maybe you're trying to get into the workforce, or maybe your finances, your financial support is coming elsewhere. Government programs, um, money given to you by family. So, if you want to go to school, there are things to consider, like online classes versus going to campus, right? Yeah, there are drawbacks of online campus or online classes. You're not as face to face with your students as well. It's not quite as social, but it might be easier to get to. So you might consider doing a mix of online classes in campus. Your school, I know state schools in the US and schools here in Canada, they have some pretty good programs for people with disabilities. It's good to research what they will help you with. Whether maybe they'll provide you with support while you're at school. Maybe they'll, have uh, certain uh, accessibility devices, technologies that you can access. These are all things that you need to investigate. And it really varies. So it's not like I can tell you exactly what to look for, but I just know that there are those types of things available. Don't just show up at school and be like, hey, can I get some help? No, do it. When you're applying, make sure you know that you have a disability and these are the type of supports you need. Now, if you're going into the workforce, now finding a job with a disability can be very difficult. Um, Depends if you want to work from home or maybe you want to work outside the home. There's some things to consider there. There's discrimination. Unfortunately, discrimination still exists. People assume what you can and cannot do. So you really have to dispel those myths when you're in interviews. If there's a barrier, if there's something that sort of, might hold you back um, on an aspect of the job that you can't do, but it's so minor. But maybe they're focused on that. So, sometimes it shouldn't fall on you, but sometimes it falls on you to come up with the solutions for the employer if you really want the job. And then there's also things you might want to investigate. Again, depending on your state or province, there might be programs that your employer can access if they hire people with a disability. So maybe you're working, and you need a like a headset that doesn't require a button. Let's say, and they only have the headsets that cost $30, but the headset that doesn't have a button that's $300. There might be some programs that will pay for that, so the burden doesn't fall on you or your employer, right? Um, which brings me to my next point: transportation. How you getting to work? How you getting to school? Um, it might be a situation where you have your own vehicle that you can modify. There are some government programs that help you purchase or modify a vehicle that you purchased. It can be very expensive, but then who drives you? That's another thing to consider. Does your city have a good accessible transportation program? Maybe it's something like you can get on every single bus and every single bus route, and that's great. But maybe not. Maybe it's a type of paratransit system where you have to call and book your rides, and they send kind of the short bus to your house. Like both of those things are good options. They work for different level of needs. So find out what would be best for you. And again, transportation could go in with your school. So many school programs could assist with transportation. Now, when you go into the work field, that's going to change. But transportation is a big issue. Heck, maybe you live, a quarter mile from where you go to school or where you go to work. But, there's other places you want to go to, doctor's appointments, social outings, the grocery store. These are things that you want to get reliable transportation for. And if you have friends and family driving you, make sure, they're protected by insurance and things like that. And make sure, you're not calling on one person to drive you all the time if it's a favor. And like maybe the organization that supplies your support worker, maybe they drive you, maybe they don't. Some do and some don't. Just another thing to consider. So much to consider. But like I had my own vehicle for many years, so that was expensive. Gas, insurance, repairs, things like that. But it did. It offered me a level of freedom that was unparalleled to public transportation. And then I mentioned, this brings me to my next point. I mentioned, not always having the same driver. Don't call the same person over and over. And this is a big deal. When you're now living independently, it is so important to foster good relationships, to have good friends, to have people that want to help you. And you gotta, it's so important. I see too many guys with muscular dystrophy. Honestly, guys, check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. That only ask of their friends. Don't give of their friends. So things that I like to do for my friends, and I like to cook for my friends. I like to, if my friends need help with something like on the computer, it's something I can do. What you can do for your friends is so important because, it's not, people understand if they're your friend and you have a disability, part of being that friend is helping you out from time to time. That's what friends are for, right? But let's not overburden our friends, right? So, your friends might drive you to social events and things like that. And that's good. But like I said, I have different people. Maybe there's a friend who takes you grocery shopping. So maybe rotate between a couple of friends. Maybe it's not the same Joe every single week. Maybe it's Joe the first Tuesday of the month and Joanne on the third Tuesday of the month and things like that. But rely on your friends for those types of things. Don't rely on friends for things you can do yourself. That is so important. Anything you can do for yourself, you got to do. That's up to you. All right. And speaking of for yourself, healthcare, doctors, stuff like that. You're now transitioning from being at home, where, let's be honest, mom's making your doctor's appointments, your dentist appointments, and stuff like that, to this is all on you. And, you got to transition. Maybe you need to find a new doctor because your doctor was only pediatric and you need to go to an adult doctor. Maybe you need to find a more not family doctor, but like more patient-centered doctor, where he kind of, or she, sorry, sexist, doctor can focus not just on your needs as a person with DMD, but your whole health needs. These are important. These are things I see often neglected. Like, let's be honest, nobody was ever concerned about my sexual health. Like, lots of people consider people with DMD as non-sexual beings. But hey, you're 18. You're a sexual being. You know that. So you want to get help related to that kind of stuff, right? Whether it's, and like, okay, so there are a few women with DMD, very few, but there are other women with other disabilities, other types of muscular dystrophy. Things like birth control and stuff like that need to be investigated. Like, you're an adult. You can have sex if you want. Wasn't great talking about that with mom or dad, but now that you're on your own, these are the types of things that you are in charge of, and you have control of in your life. Your doctor is going to do what you ask them to do, just like pretty much any doctor in the world. And of course, with DMD, as you get older, changes happen. So get your doctor to stay on top of those things. Heart testing, assisted breathing, and things like that. As you guys can see, like, I'm in bed. I'm now in bed all the time. I'm 40 years. I know I don't look it. I'm 40 years old with Duchenne MD, and I'm happy to be alive and doing as well as I'm doing and living on my own. 23 years. For the last few months, I've been in bed. Unfortunately, my heart has gotten weaker, and the swelling in my extremities has gotten so I can't really use my wheelchair. So I'm in bed. But, me and my doctor are working as well as we can to keep me comfortable and as active as I can be, in bed. Even in bed, I'm still doing my life the best I can. I'm making videos. I'm running a business. Just because you're in a wheelchair, whatever, in bed, doesn't mean you cannot do things. You just got to do things differently. And then with regards to healthcare, you want to make sure that your wishes are known in case of, bad shit happening. End of life care, or, just if something catastrophic happens, people need to know your wishes. And it's probably a good idea that if you have a medical power of attorney for healthcare decisions, so you have one person set up, and the doctor knows who it is, and all that stuff is readily accessible, so that, if God forbid you were unable to make decisions for yourself, somebody know that somebody knows what your wishes are. Oh, okay. I see we got a message. It came in a little while ago, and I'll address it at the end. So I hope you're still watching. So just have a few more points, and then I'll get to any questions that remain. Sorry, I closed my. I minimized my notes. All right. So here's other things to consider when you're living on your own. I mentioned healthcare and support workers. So, and going to the grocery store. Nutrition is a big thing. Mommy's not cooking for you anymore. She's not going to be making sure that you're getting 3 well balanced meals per day. Make sure that you're eating the things that, um, a 20 something with muscular dystrophy should be eating. So nutrition is just sort of, I don't know if it's a number on my list, but it's just something to consider. For me, there's certain things I can't chew anymore. So make sure you're, like, if I can't eat raw vegetables, I gotta make sure I'm getting those nutrients that I'm not getting from raw vegetables by trying to maybe do some raw vegetable juices or cooked vegetables or fruits or whatever it is. You got to do what you can to maintain nutrition. All right, so we talked about jobs earlier, but and how you're gonna make your money, but finances is a really important thing. How are you gonna pay your rent? How are you gonna pay for your groceries? How are you gonna pay for your insurance, your life? How are you gonna pay for that? You got to make sure you have enough financial support, whether you earn it or you receive it from another thing. And then what if you live in the Northeast and there's a ton of snow and you can't get to the bank? You got to make sure you can do like online banking and stuff like that. Or maybe you would consider joint accounts with a family member or a friend, but it has to be somebody you absolutely trust. And again, something you might want to consider is financial power of attorney. Somebody who can access your accounts and things like that when you cannot. Because if you can't pay your bills, that's a problem. If you can't pay your electricity or your water bill, they're not going to care that you're disabled. They're just going to cut you off. And, it's bad news for a dude with a disability. So, yeah, that's really something to consider. There could be government programs for saving for the future. Now, excuse me, there might be certain types of savings accounts, like in Canada. There's a registered disability saving plan where the government helps you save for your future by investing along with you. So if you put in $500, actually the government will put in like $1,500. So, and you can put it in mutual funds and things like that to grow your money. So these are definitely things to consider, because unfortunately being disabled just costs more money than not being disabled. So yeah. Another thing to consider when you're living on your own, cohabitation. Now, another way to help with finances is maybe you live with somebody who rents out a room in your place or the basement. I've done that before. But sometimes you have a great roommate. Sometimes you get somebody who you have to call the police on. I've been there both places. Had great roommates. And I've had roommates that have had to call the police on, unfortunately, to get them out of my house and out of my life. So, you got a question? Guys, this is one of the things I'm talking about. Right now, I'm doing a live stream, and I got to answer a question from one of my support workers. So, I'm just going to do that for half a second.
So, the one that actually opened.
Yeah.
So, it's been about like 10 minutes now. So, when do you want me to put the video? Oh,
not till it's done. Yeah.
How long do you want to keep it?
What did the box say?
35 minutes.
Yeah, do 35 minutes and then take it off and do about another 10 minutes. Cool, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, so somebody's doing some cooking for me, and just answer your question. You're responsible for how that happens. You can't just say, "Cook me something," and they'll be like, "Well, I never cook that, Josh. I don't know what I'm doing." Well, don't you know? You should know. No. Don't expect that. Okay, so back to cohabitation. I've had roommates live with me. Like I said, I had my brother live with me for the first year and a bit. I was living on my own. After that, my sister moved in with me, but just as a living situation. She didn't help with my personal care and things like that. Um, like, don't get me wrong. I'd be like, hey, Chicky, I call her Chicky. Chicky, would you mind grabbing me a glass of water? Could you pour me a glass of water? Yeah, she's gonna do kind of stuff like that, but I never asked her to spend 2.5 hours getting my ass up in the morning. So you live with friends, but make sure that your friends understand as best they can what it's like to live with somebody who has a disability. Um, you know, uh, One thing I've always told people who live with me is I'm home a lot. If you ever want to be home alone, that's probably not going to happen too much. And now that I'm in bed, I don't leave my home anymore. So, yeah, um, something to consider. And then living with a partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, maybe marriage. Marriage is so convoluted when it comes to people with a disability. You can lose financial supports from the government. You can lose insurance supports from the government. So even living with a girlfriend or boyfriend, in some states, it depends how long you cohabitate. They could say, nope, they're now your partner, your common law husband, let's say. They are responsible for this, and you lose your government support in whatever that is. It's not fair, it's not good, but it's the reality. So, um, yeah, it's something to definitely consider. Heck, it even happened. Ontario has even more like interesting views. I'm in Ontario, Canada, and the I was living with a friend for a few years, so we're the same sex. So, you know, same sex partnerships are obviously, not discouraged anymore. Thank God. Uh, but we're both heterosexual, and we both had girlfriends at the time. But the Ontario Disability Support Program said to me, like, you guys need to prove that you're not um, in a codependent relationship. Now I said, no, we're both straight. And they said, that doesn't even matter. So like if you share responsibilities, not just share a roof, but say you share buying the groceries or share like stuff like that together. They might have almost considered that like a codependency, and then they would have cut me off and like they would have said, no, your friend has to pay for this stuff, which is insanity peppers. So thankfully that didn't happen because, well, my friend would have just had to move out. And then I would have been like, look, government, we're obviously not codependent. We're not living together anymore. But yeah, totally, totally ridiculous that the government would would do that. Okay, guys, so that's about it. I think I have 2 questions I need to answer, and then I'm going to share final thoughts. So I got this question from Dan on Facebook. What do you do when you feel lonely or alone? And he's like, says, not in a relationship context, but just physically alone. Because if you're home alone in your house or apartment for, say, you live alone and you're by yourself for long parts of the day or days in a row, other than, say, your support staff, how do you deal with that? Well, that's where friends come in and family comes in. So the truth is, and the pandemic has made this even worse, but the truth is, you just have to tell your friends. So now that I'm stuck in bed, like I told my friends recently, guys, I need you to come by just a little bit more. And it might be a good idea to schedule like a monthly games night with a couple of guys. Or maybe you got this friend that you like doing coffee with her, and maybe she can do coffee one morning a week. Or you got a friend that likes basketball, and once a month he comes over for a basketball game. It might be help to schedule those types of things, because sometimes your friends don't really realize, hey, it's been like 3 months since I hung out with Josh. People get busy. Lots of my friends have kids. Some of my friends have 4 and 5 children. They lead very busy lives. So I get it. It's not a personal slight against you. They're busy. So let your friends know that you're lonely and ask them if they would consider doing scheduled regular visits. All right. We had a video in the chat. A chat question in the video type thing. Here we go. Layson or something like that asks, what medicine do you take? I also have DMD or BMD, which is Becker's, I believe. Doctors don't know. Okay, well, I don't give medical advice. I give life advice. So I'm not going to say what medicines I take. What I will say is that these things are your choice. Don't just do what one person tells you to do. Do what you want to do. If you want to take medicines, go right ahead. If you want to take steroids, go right ahead. If you don't. That's all I can say. When it comes to other things like treatments, like the spinal fusion surgery, that was okay. I'll say that was something I chose to do. And quite frankly, I don't think I'd be alive today without it. But I'm not going to get too much into that, except for the fact that it's your choice. Investigate the options and do what you think is best for you. And you know what? Try not to regret it, because I made some choices, and sometimes I know I did the right thing. Sometimes I'm not sure, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I probably should have done it differently. But there is no shoulda, coulda, woulda. There's no going back. There's absolutely no going back. It doesn't help you to, dwell on what you could have done. But here's a piece of advice. It's never too late to do the right thing. to do the thing that's good for you. To do, say, say, uh, say you haven't done some ventilation, and some ventilation might be the right choice. I'm not saying it is. In your circumstance, it is. But you should have done it like 6, 7 years ago. Well, it's not too late. Get the benefits of ventilation, whether it's BiPAP, CPAP, whatever. Do it. Go for it. Um, and not just regards to health either. Maybe you felt like you've underachieved a little bit. You haven't worked when you could have worked. Hey, there's nothing stopping you now. Go for it. And if you fail, that's okay. Like, you'll never regret failing. You might be disappointed in failing, but you won't regret it. I've had some massive failures, some whoppers. Some whoppers. And yes, I'm sad that it didn't turn out great. Hell, I want all my endeavors to, make me wildly rich and bring me success and things like that. But that's not reality. That's not reality. Just do what you feel is right. Go forward. Try. Don't be afraid to fail. Because, guys, life with DMD is fucking hard. It's fucking hard, man. Your body is fucking failing you. Excuse my French, but that's the truth. Your body is failing you. Your mind and your body don't align. I've actually often equated it to being wrongfully convicted and imprisoned. You didn't do anything to deserve having a body that sucks, but yet you're serving a life sentence. And it sucks, but there's nothing you can do to change it except to work hard, try and be positive, try and do what you can. Don't be afraid to fail, because you're gonna fail. Fail once, fail twice, fail as many times as you need to, and you'll succeed. You're succeeding just in the fact that you're trying. All right. And now I'm going to end on some closing thoughts. Guys with DMD, yeah, your parents are going to help you. There's government programs that can help you, friends that can help you. But ultimately, this is all on you, all on your shoulders. You are taking this risk. Understand the risks. There are great benefits, but understand the risks, because it's all on you. This all rides on you. And it's a great when you. My proudest accomplishment in life. I've lived 23 years independently on my own. I'm so immensely proud of myself. And anybody else who's doing it should be proud of themselves too, because it's not easy. But just remember, it's on you. Your success or failure is on you. Cool. Guys, if you like the video, please do like it. Please subscribe. Hit the subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. That's really important, because most of the videos I do are live. I don't know why I just like live videos. There's something raw and authentic about them. I cry, I swear, I laugh. Yeah. So And share this video. Please share. Hit the share button. Just be like, share it with your friends. Share it with other people, DMD. Share it in with whoever. Share it with your mom. Maybe your mom doesn't know you're thinking of moving out. Maybe your dad or grandma, whoever you live with. Share it with them. And just talk about it. Just talk about things. And guys, another thing I'm proud of is that I run my own business. I would love your support. It's not just support. It's great coffee too. OwlCreekCoffee.com. If you love coffee like I do, well, you guys can't see it, but there's a coffee right in front of me. Probably getting a bit cold now. This coffee from more than 20 different locations around the world. I got blends, I got single source coffee, and I got it set up so that you buy the coffee, they roast it. It's not roasted, yeah, they roast it within 24 hours of you buying, and then ship it within 24 hours of roasting. So you are getting fresh coffee. Yeah, it's premium price, but it is premium coffee. If you're a coffee lover, if you appreciate good coffee that's also ethically sourced, please check out OwlCreekCoffee.com. And 10% of my proceeds go to other people living with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. All right? So, guys, thank you very much. We're almost at an hour. Wow, I thought it was going to be a 30-minute video. That's awesome. Thank you. Love you. Until next time.